Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News Weekend. A new partnership to build a hydrogen production facility in BC is one step closer to becoming a reality. As APTN's Tina House explains, more and more First Nations are looking to green energy to boost their economies.
Nurturing the trees that shelter us. The trees that cradle our stories and carry our legacy across the waters.
Hydrogen production is the idea of using water to create energy, and Salish Elements, along with the Hatcliffe First Nation, want to create a 25-megawatt green hydrogen production facility that will change the game for green energy on First Nations territory. The end goal is to sell that energy to the North American transportation market. Reuben George is the chairman of Salish Elements.
So Hatcliffe is going to be the primary developer of hydrogen. We're strategically creating partnerships with First Nations from Vancouver up to Prince Rupert to have filling stations in strategic areas where people can fill up with their hydrogen for their vehicles. But also we want to work with remote villages.
For Chief Darrell Bob, he says his community is excited to be a part of this important project.
Rural communities don't get much opportunity to create change or even have a good business opportunity. Here's an opportunity I don't think our people can pass up, which would create a better future for our members.
Along with a revenue source for the First Nation, jobs and training will be a big part of it. Minister Josie Osborne says this partnership is good for BC.
Incredibly exciting to see Indigenous-led clean energy projects like this. We know that hydrogen is one of our key pathways to a net zero future. It's creating opportunities for communities and for people, fantastic jobs, and most importantly, helping us live that cleaner future that we need to leave for our children and grandchildren.
We have to evolve with the changes on Mother Earth, and this is our opportunity to be a small part of it.
And everyone's passionate about it, who we meet with and who we talk with, because we need this change. It's simple. We separate water, H2O, and when we put it back together, that's where the energy comes from. But when it comes, put it back together, that's water again. So there's no pollution. So it's a no-brainer, and this is the direction we need to go in.
Construction on the facility should begin within the next 8 months. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Family from the Island Lake area in northern Manitoba recently hosted a long-awaited memorial for a relative who died of tuberculosis in 1948. Billy Harper spent a lifetime searching for his mother, who passed away when he was just 4 years old. His daughter Sharon found her burial site in Brandon. APTN Sierra Bettens tells us how.
At his mother's final resting place, Billy Harper strummed a Hank Williams song to awaken her spirit. Then, it began to pour.
That's the first time I said Mum. And I talked to her, lying in her bed in her grave, and was she listening to me. Hey Mom, I'm here.
With family and community at his side, Harper held a memorial for his mother Fanny, who died of tuberculosis in 1948. He was only 4 years old when she passed at 27. Harper, who turns 80 this year, spent a lifetime searching for his mother's grave. But in February, his daughter, Sharon Little, connected with the Manitoba Indigenous Tuberculosis History Project, which helps families locate missing loved ones.
We were talking about it one night. He was mentioning our dad's getting old and he hasn't found his mom yet after years of searching.
Within a week, they found Fanny's burial site at the Brandon Municipal Cemetery. Before her passing, she was likely sent to the Brandon Indian Sanatorium to be treated for tuberculosis.
The response was really quick, about a week, and they got all the information of my grandmother. And that's how it started. And I told my dad, He was pretty in shock when I told him on the phone, because after years of searching.
So, on Saturday, the family traveled by plane from their homes up north in the Island Lake area to hold a long-awaited memorial.
I've been searching all my life. Now I'm happy I found her.
In the early 20th century, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples were disproportionately affected by tuberculosis. Health officials crafted the myth of Indian TB, suggesting that Indigenous peoples were racially susceptible to the virus. The federal government opened sanatoriums they called Indian hospitals to house Indigenous patients. These hospitals were usually underfunded and understaffed, leading to poor living conditions and care. When patients died, families were rarely told. Project lead Mary Jane Logan McCallum and research director Catherine Boschman work with the Manitoba Indigenous Tuberculosis History Project. Since 2019, the project has helped dozens of families locate the final resting places of loved ones who died in Indian hospitals. But, as the researchers attest, tracking down missing patients is no simple task.
There are religious repositories, funeral homes, and it is a really overwhelming process to begin and to even know where to start, because each avenue is a little bit different, and so the process is not like an easy, straightforward path. And that's part of the reason why the project produced the Missing Patients Research Guide.
The Missing Patients Research Guide is free online. It is designed to help families begin their search. Though the research team has expanded over the years, Logan McCallum believes the onus should be on the government to help Indigenous families access public records.
There is no public, government right now that is taking responsibility for assisting families through this process, and there is a huge demand, as we've found, and not just us, but probably every Indigenous organization has been approached with similar questions.
At the memorial in Brandon, green grass grows over a row of unmarked graves. Graves the researchers believe could be for other patients like Fanny Harper. As Billy places flowers where his mother lays buried, he hopes other families searching for their lost loved ones can do the same.
I know there are a lot of people are searching for like what we're doing, A lot of them, even garden hills and trees was in our area there, even way back home. And they search the same way as I do. And I'm hoping that the government will provide funds in the future. I heard her say,
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Brandon.
We're taking a deeper look at the Trans Mountain Pipeline now that the expansion has been completed. That story and more after the break. Welcome back. A post-secondary institution in the Northwest Territories is facing hurdles expanding into a Polytechnic university. Instructors say along with base funding, they want to see more continuing education programs geared towards professionals. But there are problems that is creating a bit of uncertainty. Reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has more.
We'll be a team.
The task, plucking a duck as a team, but only using one hand. The outcome, teamwork. A quality these students from the Level 2 Northern Leadership Development Program have been mastering.
Can I tell a story?
Aurora College's continuing education department is a hybrid model. It attracts students from across the north who are already in leadership roles back home. But this program trains them to be even better. Liz Wright is chief of the Tetlin-Gwich'in Band in Fort McPherson.
Learning from the whole cohort, of course. Everybody has a different background and everybody has different jobs. And you're not only learning from Hill and Mo and from the notebooks, the binders that they give you and their teachings, but you're also getting different people putting in the information that they shared with their leadership.
Part of this hybrid model, students are invited to bring their mentors. Charlie Villeneuve, a supervisor at a Caddy diamond mine, originally from Inuvik, is here with his biggest supporter, his grandma.
The strength, leadership, where I get a lot of my quality from, I could see it in her and so many others.
Hilary Leroy Gauthier says the students' employers pay their tuition and give them time off for the course.
You're leveling up, basically, your leadership skills. So using those concepts and the tools and the models that were introduced in level 1, this is now, okay, how are you utilizing this in practice? And how are you sharing that wisdom with each other around that use?
But programs like this are at risk. Aurora College was planning to transition to a Polytechnic university by May 2025, but they have to put those plans on hold, already cutting their bachelor's programs in social work and education. The issue, 60% of their funding comes from third parties and the rest from inconsistent research money. College president Dr. Glenda Vardy-Dell says the institution plans to hire full-time grant writers.
We want to be able to say to a student who is unsuccessful in a course this year, one-time offering of a course, we want to be able to say, well, you can come back next year and redo that course. If we don't have third-party funding to say that, or we don't have base funding to say that that course will be offered again next year, then we may potentially just lose that student.
Cheryl Martin of the Yellowknives Dene First Nation says she's graduating with confidence.
The reason why I took this is to work on me using my voice, speaking out, learning to be in leadership role, like maybe down the line in the future, know what I'm going into, know what I want. This program really helped about team building, trusting.
The program has seen over 150 Northern graduates earn a record of achievement since 2011. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Deta.
The twinning of the Trans Mountain Pipeline is now complete, which will now transport close to 1 million barrels of bitumen from the tar sands in Alberta to Burnaby, BC, and then loaded onto super tankers destined for Asian markets. APTN's Tina House takes a closer look at the project and those that say it's just a matter of time before a major accident happens.
Since the twinning of the Trans Mountain Pipeline was first announced, controversy has followed from large-scale protests and rallies with thousands of people.
Justin Trudeau promised. He promised a new relationship with my people. He promised that this project could not move forward unless it was done through a vigorous and thorough review, which he broke. He is a liar. He is a liar. He is a liar.
This is what democracy looks like.
Others went to extreme measures, like some land defenders chaining themselves to work vehicles, to some high-profile arrests of Grand Chief Stuart Phillip and Tsleil-Waututh Elder Ta'a.
I'd sooner die than have Kinder Morgan come in here with their poison. I've walked the tar sands. I've seen the sickness. All of the families there, they got someone who is dying of cancer. They got ear infection, eye infection, stomach infection. Little kids running around with great big running sores on them. That'll be us.
Dozens of others that were arrested served jail time and received heavy fines, like Tsleil-Waututh Nation member Will George, who not only led the watch house that was built on the pipeline route on Burnaby Mountain, but he also suspended himself off the Second Narrows Bridge for 24 hours. He says it's not a matter of if, but when there is a spill, as history has shown us.
Bitumen it sinks to the bottom. You cannot recover it. So there's lots of facades. You look and there's spill response vessels all along the coast. That's a facade. People think, okay, look at they have these vessels, they have a plan, but it's a facade, it's a lie, and it's sinister because you cannot clean this up. It will sink to the bottom, and that's a threat that poses to our sailor seas.
Numerous court cases ensued from First Nations and environmental groups saying the project was too risky for the environment. The court struck down all those cases, clearing a path to move forward for the company. However, rallies have continued. The first Trans Mountain pipeline was built in 1953 and was considered a monumental engineering feat at the time, traversing over mountains, rivers, creeks, and rough terrain. In June of 2019, the federal government approved the twinning of the pipeline, however, at some points, taking a different route because of modern-day construction, hydro, and roadways. 12 new pump stations were added along the route. 19 more tanks were added to the storage terminals in Edmonton, Sumas, and Burnaby. 3 new berths were built at the Westridge Marine Terminal, increasing the number of tankers in the Burrard Inlet to 34 a month. However, what was first estimated to only cost $5 billion has now ballooned to $34 billion, paid by Canadian taxpayers, after the federal government purchased the pipeline in August of 2018. West Coast environmental law lawyer Eugene Kung says it's already a financial loss for Canadians.
So the fees that the pipeline company charges its oil company customers simply don't allow for them to cover even close to the $34 billion price tag. Trans Mountain is currently in front of the Canadian Energy Regulator asking for approval of interim tolls. And the tolls that they've asked for, based on a previously approved tolling methodology, will only recover less than half of the $34 billion project cost.
Despite the federal government owning the pipeline, Kinder Morgan is responsible for building the pipeline. Our request for an interview from Kinder Morgan was not granted by the time this story went to air. In part 2 of this story, we take a closer look at those that support the project and those that continue to fight against it. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Still to come, we'll look back on the life and legacy of Métis icon Ray St Germaine. Stick around. Welcome back. The Stanley Cup Finals officially wrapped up, and though the Cup didn't come back to Canada, there's still a silver lining. APTN's intern Zach Bowser has more.
The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup!
Just over a year removed from heartbreak in last year's Stanley Cup Finals, Florida Panthers defenseman Brandon Montour has fulfilled his and most other Canadian kids' dream, hoisting the Stanley Cup. In April of 2021, the Mohawk defenseman from Six Nations, Ontario, was traded to the Panthers from the Buffalo Sabres for only a third-round pick. Back in 2022, Montour won the inaugural APTN Brian Trottier Most Valuable Indigenous Player Award, which recognizes on-ice excellence and off-ice contributions to the Indigenous community. And in the 2022-2023 season, Montour made himself known all around the league, thanks to a breakout season where he put up 16 goals and 73 points in 80 regular season games. Today, the Indigenous athlete joins the likes of NHL greats Grant Fuhr, Theo Fleury, and Brian Trottier by winning hockey's greatest achievement, but not without a message for his fans in Six Nations.
Be ready for it to come home.
Zach Bowser, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The death of Ray St Germaine was announced by his wife Glory on Facebook Tuesday. The 83-year-old was dealing with the effects of Parkinson's disease for the last several years of his life. But as Sav Jones reports, it didn't stop him from singing with his soul.
It's now or never, come hold me tight, kiss me my darling, please be mine tonight.
Earlier this June, Métis legend and music icon Ray St Germaine unexpectedly sang an Elvis Presley song in what is now his last public performance. It was announced on Tuesday that the 83-year-old had died. But less than 3 weeks ago, St Germaine's legacy was honored with the renaming of his childhood street.
So many friends, so many relatives. Thank you so much for everything.
He said with his wife Glory at his side. At a press conference earlier today, Glory shared her cherished memories of their 50 years together.
And Ray sang to me every day, and we danced
every day, and music was his life. And I'm so honored that, that his music will continue to inspire people to sing, to praise their heritage, and to move forward with love and compassion.
The news of his passing comes after years of St Germaine dealing with the effects of Parkinson's disease. But for decades prior, St Germaine rocked out on stage singing country songs and entertaining the masses with his long-standing television and radio career. Shows like Big Sky Country and Métis Hour ×2. Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand was a close friend.
Our nation is in mourning. There's not a question about it. We lost our legend. We lost our hero.
St Germaine was recognized by the Aboriginal Order of Canada in 1985 and inducted into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame in 2010 for his contribution to Canadian music and Indigenous culture. St Germaine was proud of his culture, writing the iconic song, "I'm Mighty Proud to Be Métis."
That's the 1970s. That song was sang by him, written by him. Think about history in this room. Go back. Not many people were proud to be Métis then.
Glory says she was surprised when the ailing St Germaine decided to sing at his street naming ceremony.
And it was his last hurrah to say, I love you, I love everyone, and thank you for sharing the music. And, music feeds the soul.
St Germaine was known as Winnipeg's Elvis for his soulful voice, and just like the King of Rock, his legacy will live on forever.
Tomorrow it will be too late. It's now or never. My love won't wait.
Sav Jones, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And you can find much more on the passing of Ray over on our website, aptnnews.ca. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this long weekend. Stay up to date by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Because I'm a traveling man and I don't give a damn. I'm a traveling man, I've been traveling most of my life. I got a good woman, don't you know that she's a good wife? And there's no rhyme or reason why I ought to be sitting here today. But let me explain it all to you, don't you know this is just my way. Yes, I'm a traveling man and I don't give a damn if you don't like the way that I live. I'm a traveling man and love is just a plan and I take a lot more than I give. You gotta understand I'm not an ordinary man, I'm my own special food. I'm a traveling man, the things that I plan you ain't never gonna learn in school. Drive all day, I drive all night all alone. When I hit a